Meanwhile, following other breaking news this hour, in the race for the White House in 2024, brand new poll numbers out this morning from Premise, which is what you're seeing here, showing President Trump ahead of President Biden if the election were held today. The hypothetical matchup showing Trump with the commanding 45 to 37% lead. But the really interesting numbers here are the second Premise poll here on a potential Biden-DeSantis matchup.
We'll show it to you now. The Florida governor here trailing President Biden by 1 percentage point in the latest Premise poll. Again, 34, 35, 32% still not sure, by the way. Of course, Ron DeSantis has still not officially declared a run for the White House, although he has been on an international speaking tour. He's headed to Iowa next week. Just a few indicators that he's strongly considering a presidential campaign of his own.
Joe Biden is fit, capable, and ready to serve another term.
I think when you look at a candidate, you consider a lot. I think age is one thing. I think experience is another thing.
It's going to be a Rose Garden campaign, to put it mildly. And the idea of sort of him engaging in the hurly-burly of the campaign is just never going to happen.
Will President Joe Biden's age be an issue for Democrats heading into 2024? Well, that appears to be the biggest question Democrats will have to confront in the coming months, as you've seen play out on cable news, as Biden mounts his campaign for re-election.
Since announcing his bid for re-election just 1 week ago, Biden's age has been the subject of much debate amongst rank-and-file Democratic voters, as well as even the New York Times. The media still asking that question. Maybe something you wouldn't necessarily see for the Times. Stephanie Hamill is a contributing writer for the Media Research Center TV. Bill Caruso is a Democratic strategist, and we welcome you both. Thanks so much for coming on today. Bill, age, as we know, it's something we cannot change. We cannot choose, unfortunately. So, but when you think about the matchup between President Biden, and if we see him versus President Trump, similar in age, Biden's still older than Trump, but what about a Biden versus DeSantis, as we were showing in the poll, where you've got a younger candidate who's in the mix? How does this play for Democrats?
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now, I think Democrats see, at least at this point, Joe Biden being our nominee. The Republicans have to figure out who theirs is going to be. Age is a factor. It absolutely is. Anybody that tells you it isn't is silly. Age is a factor. I'm 49. Age is a factor for me getting up in the morning. I think most people are going to judge this president based on where we are with the economy. His mental faculties, his age, all these things are going to be weighed. But people are going to look at where's their wallet, where's their pocketbook, where's the economy right now. That's what this election is going to be about. And the person that's got the best plan or best results to talk about, that's who's going to win the next election.
Stephanie, your thoughts on that? And obviously, seeing the New York Times, you've seen others, including NBC News, coming out with the, again, from an editorial perspective of age, President Biden being an issue. We're also showing you this, Donald Trump returning to CNN for a primetime town hall event. You're going to see stuff like this. Trump's going to address the public in town halls, potentially debate. Do you think you're going to see that from President Biden?
Yeah, well, President Biden has made it clear that he really doesn't want to do any sort of debate stage. I think they want to do the same tactics that they did in the last election, which was keep him in the basement. And as you pointed out, age is an issue. We saw that polling by YouGov that was done in March that said 7 in 10 voters said that Biden was too old. They don't want him to run again. And it's not necessarily just about age. It's about his cognitive ability and his skills. We see President Biden, who oftentimes is lost and confused because you can make the case that maybe former President Donald Trump is too old. But there's a stark contrast between the two. And so I think that's really important to highlight. As for former President Donald Trump and his CNN town hall that's coming up, that was a surprising announcement. But if you look at CNN's ratings, they've been suffering nonstop. I mean, the woes just continue to come in. And as we know, under their new leadership with Chris Lake, that they are trying to be more moderate, or at least appear to be a little more fair. We'll see how this town hall plays out. We know that the moderator is Caitlin Collins. Fun fact about Caitlin Collins, she actually used to work for my former employer, the Daily Caller, which was co-founded by Tucker Carlson. So maybe she'll be a little bit more fair. We've seen some of her interviews with Republicans on her morning show, and she does a pretty fair job. So maybe former President Donald Trump will have an opportunity to, talk about what he wants to do if he were to be reelected. And I think it's so important that these news organizations give presidential candidates an opportunity to share their ideas, whether they like it or not.
You point out how small the media world is. Isn't that a fascinating reminder, by the way? Never burn any bridges, I think is a good takeaway there. But Bill, to you, the fact that Donald Trump's going on CNN, maybe he could reach a different audience, right? We know that presidential elections are really about winning those swing states, winning over those independent voters. If President Biden was offered a town hall opportunity on maybe a conservative-leaning network, should he take it?
Absolutely. And I've seen, listen, one of the reasons why I was so high on President Biden is because of the experience, right? And I watched President Biden in the last election do a town hall meeting. It was challenged from the left, and it was challenged from the left on an immigration issue about no more deportations, which is not a really good policy. And he stood there and defended a really sane and rational policy. That's what you're going to see from Joe Biden. Now, listen, it's interesting to see CNN deciding to be a little bit more fair and balanced. They probably woke up and figured out that, as you said, their ratings are plummeting, so they've got to do something too. But this is where Donald Trump isn't at his best. Donald Trump can't help but be Donald Trump. And in that type of setting where it's not a homogenous group of people that are all Trump fans, he stands to do himself some damage. And remember, he's got to get elected in a general election. Whether he cruises through a Republican primary, Donald Trump needs to stand in front of a general election electorate and get elected. And that's still going to be a challenge.
All right. Final thoughts again, Stephanie Hamill, on this, and then we'll part ways.
Well, it's free publicity, and I kind of feel the same way too. It's like going into the lion's den when you go do interviews with the mainstream media. They often throw these, curveball questions. They try to make you look bad if you're conservative. And keep in mind, CNN has not given former President Donald Trump favorable coverage over the years. I mean, they were hard pushing the Russia collusion hoax. Most of their coverage was negative, and they've given this Biden administration almost a complete and total pass, especially in regards to the Biden family scandals. It's like they don't even want to cover it. So as for Biden and if he would want to do conservative interviews, it's not that he's not invited onto the shows. Right? I mean, most of the networks, all of the networks I can think of would love to have him, but he's even hard to get if you're a mainstream media reporter or mainstream news outlet.
I mean, you see that in the briefing room, right? When we've got our own reporter, James Rosen, who's trying to get a question into Karine Jean-Pierre, and she's not taking his questions. We got to leave it right there, but we appreciate you both coming on today. Stephanie Hamill and Bill Caruso, thank you very much.
Thank you.